I've been through the fire and come out alive, and there's no more fear in my eyes. Well, now I'm rising, and you can't bring me down. You can't stop me now. Can't stop me now. My feet have come too far for you to tie them to the ground. You can't stop me now. Can't stop me now. Set my sights on where I'm going at and turn it back around. You can't stop me.
Well, good evening and welcome to Psych Coffee Shop. I'm Aeson Knight, and of course with me tonight is Adam Hall with his new book, Divine Genius. This is a thick read. This actually took me a weekend, but it's a good read, guys. It really covers a lot of growth, a lot of spirituality, and it took you some time to write, Alan. How long were you working on the book?
Well, it's a journey, as they say in the writer's world, and I began this book actually back in 2016. Well, the book began to write me, and I took about a year and a half to write the book, and then another year to kind of get it cleaned up and get it ready to go. And so all in all, you know, it's 2.5 years. That's exactly right.
Right. And you've got a few others out. You've got The Earthkeeper, Undeveloping the Future You Share in Life. You know, you're used to the book game. So for you, what made this one different? What was the ride different?
Well, this is the second in my life's trilogy, Anson, and this one, if you looked at an arc, this one is up at the peak of the arc. So what made it different was this book actually was not just shamanic storytelling, but it also downloaded these 13 universal wisdom teachings. And what made this one really profound is that I was able to really bring forth what I can offer to the world. I mean, we can show up in the world, we can write a lot of stuff, but ultimately, what are we doing to hopefully make the world a better place? And you know, and this was my offering to share those wisdom teachings and to share a process actually, so that we can transcend away from the old stuff that kind of got us in this mess, if that makes sense.
And continues to get us in this mess. Now, you brought up shamanism there. Now, part of, you know, I've studied with some shamans. Part of the way they teach is stories. So,
100%.
Yeah, you know, like everything is story-based. Did you have problem getting into those 13 principles and explaining them without going into storyline?
Well, the interesting thing about this, and then for all you authors out there, potential writers out there, I believe, by the way, everybody's got a powerful story. So if you got one, let it fly, because the world needs your story. But this one was interesting because there's really what I described as the key pillars to this book. One was the shamanic storytelling. Which was in due part the journey that I was on personally, like what's happening in your everyday life. I have children, I go to work, I've got a partner, you know, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So it kind of grounds it and it's real. And then I'm in the storytelling, the deeper inner storytelling, when I'm engaging with what I refer to as an ascended master. And then ultimately that reveals these wisdom teachings that I offer to the reader to really up-level their life. In other words, you want to be stuck on one side of the bridge that may be not so fulfilling, or do you want to cross over into your greater potential? So this storytelling was really unique, and this book was unique, and it's an interesting offering because it's different than just pure storytelling. It's actually bringing forth some real options and opportunities to engage with these powerful teachings.
It is, you know, and you know, the Ascended Masters have been passing information and wisdom down to us since at least the late 1700s. And as you follow through, no matter the teacher, the instrument, I'll call them the instrument, it's interesting how their information has been changing over time here. You're from Madame Blavatsky, who really had gotten to that term of Ascended Master all the way down. It's kind of changed. How do you think your connection was with them?
Well, I'm glad you asked that because, and I think you're right. I think the times that we live in, or the times that each of us have lived in over, well, let's just say the last centuries or so, as you referenced it, in terms of our connection with masters or ascended masters. Some may say they're connected to angels and guides. I get all that. And the point that what I recognized about my engagement with this ascended master was there was a meeting place. In other words, when I was in my deep meditative practices, I began to tune in consistently in my meditations over an 81-day period that had a certain frequency and vibrational wavelength. And in that wavelength, some call it more delta and alpha and gamma wavelengths, that in that wavelength, I picked up, or like you have a dish, you opened up your antenna and you tune in, and that frequency comes in, just like you're downloading a radio
Right.
A program, so to speak. So I begin to do that, and I believe each of us has these guides and these ascended masters. It's just a matter of tuning into that frequency. And the beauty of this is that what I found is that frequency, which is a wave, which is light, which carries information and transmits information. And that's a bigger conversation, but it was a place that connected with me, in a meeting place, so I could transduce the information and then bring it into a place where it's practical for today. So your question is a good one, because yes, all the information in the world doesn't mean anything, but when we have the experience and download the knowledge and the wisdom, then all of a sudden it can be pragmatic and practical for the times we're living in.
Right. And they've updated well comparatively. I mean, because, look at 3 centuries of our lives. Like when the Ascended Masters have gotten used to cell phone dings and, nothing, they're just looking, really. Or at least that's my impression. It's like, yeah, humans have this crap. Why do we need it?
Yeah, well, yes, that life into 3D is more than curious. It's freaking nuts in many ways, but it is what it is. And so, we're all here for the same reason. We're none of us are ascended. All of us are here in the Earth School to learn our way through the lives of our soul's journey. And so it's perfectly chaotic and challenging, and that's not to be de minimis to all those that are really hurting right now. And these are just incredibly difficult times. And I certainly, in my journey, in my own way, but I really, my heart goes out to a lot of the challenges, and we're kind of just entering into a period of time where we better really think about taking our power back. And the divine genius, the unlearning curve, is about taking your power back. When I'm working with people, you don't need a guru. You don't need Adam. You are your guru. You have your power. And my work is to help people empower themselves so they don't have to put up with all the madness in their lives in the way that they have, because it's a crazy mofo world, is it not?
It's very crazy. And what I found interesting is I'm a watcher of history. And I found interesting when we first entered this COVID pandemic situation, how quickly the humans went back to gardening, went back to slowing down, went back to reclaiming their time, but back to reclaiming their ideas. And, it's big news now that, there's so many open jobs and you can't get people work. It's like, no, they were like, sorry, we done the industrial age. We're ready for the roaring 20s here. Can we figure out what real life looks like?
Well, you hit it spot on. I mean, just in the U.S., we've had over 4 million people for the last 9 months, every month leaving their places of work. And, some of them, of course, are going to get a better job. Other ones are going, why the fuck do I want to keep doing the same shit? And they don't. And that's why, last I read another stat that more people have started a company. More people are wanting to live in their joy. More people are willing to risk what is true for them. and define their life according to how they want to define their life, not their mother or their parent or their place of work or anybody. So I think it's extraordinary, and I think this is happening. This is sweeping across the globe. So this is happening everywhere, and I think you're exactly right. I think this is a time to like go, okay, do I really want to stay in the old pattern, or maybe I don't feel so good, and life is telling me how I'm supposed to live. Life is happening to me, the victim mentality, the perpetrator mentality, or you know what? I'm going to go out and I'm going to live my best life now. Why not?
Right. And, I'm seeing a lot of people, you brought up certain companies, stepping out of that nook and going, why am I doing accounting? I hate accounting. I've always hated math.
Yeah.
I've got we're now going on 2 years, but I told a lot of my clients when it first happened, gives you a year, go recreate yourself, figure out what you want. And this is where your book really steps into a lot of play, I think, is figuring out when we strip away the robes, when you strip away the clothes, when you strip away the titles, what that genius is there, what you really want, what you're here to learn, and what crap have you added into your box that you really don't need.
Exactly. I mean, you think about it, we stuff so much shit in our box, whether it's stories of our parents or somebody told us, or a lot of the pain in we live from that crap, the past, we're often living in the future's past. And, we have 90,000 thoughts a day or whatever the freaking number is. And 99% of those are thoughts of the past. And that's what dictates our life. So the whole idea of the divine genius in the subtitle, in particular, the unlearning curve, is that we can take away and look at all that no longer serves us. In other words, I've identified the thought system that keeps us locked in a place of these old stories, this separation from our greater genius and our potentiality. We don't need to go out and get our genius. We already have it. It's just a matter of you can't see it. If you're in a dark room and you have dim light, you can't see anything, or no light, you can't see anything. This is about just bringing some light into our consciousness and our awareness through a consistent, proven process that says, oh, I don't want to live in that mindset of ego and separation and pain and suffering. And I don't want to do that anymore. So it takes us back to the source, back to the source that decided for that. And we get to decide for the other story, which is our genius. It's a lot better story, if you ask me.
Oh, I think it's a lot better story. And I also think it works really good on healing trauma and dealing with anxiety. That is the natural system for the humans to go, oh, this blew up last time, so I've got to act a certain way so it doesn't blow up. It goes back and rewrites that for people.
Well, yeah, exactly. Otherwise, we keep defaulting and living out the same old repetition, the same old pattern. I mean, just think about, I know from my life, I had to keep doing the same old thing, like knocking my head against the wall, primarily in my place of work and dealing with people that I found to be, competitors or adversaries. And it ultimately just led to big legal bills, for example. But now what we're offering is there's the potential to move beyond the same old default mechanisms. And that's exactly what must happen. Einstein said, Aeson, that you can't solve the problem from the same level of thinking that you created the problem.
Right.
Right?
Right. And you can't focus in on the problem. If you're living the problem, you can't fix the problem.
Well, exactly. And some of us like to, and I mean, listen, I know for me in my life, in my journey, that I drank a lot. So my pathology and way of dealing with stuff was through drinking. And so in that pathology, I just kept defaulting to that as, well, this is something I'm going to do every night, kind of thing. I'll have 2-3 glasses of wine, or, I'm a big tequila fan, or was. So I just do that. So default, just kept kind of going back to the places. And this is this is what's really literally killing us and killed this planet, the way we think and operate. So this
Right.
is offering to try something new, you know, or
Right.
try something new. That's the idea.
Well, not only that, but try something that has worked before. You see the patterns. You can change the patterns because A plus B equals C. It's always equals C. Sometimes you need to add in D in there to get the modifier correct, but it adds in. And changing the way you visualize yourself, how you see yourself in a mirror, how you see your personality versus how you feel like you have to be is such a monumental step.
Well, it's a quantum leap, and that's the whole idea. Because if you want to continue to live in those patterns, and I did for many years, every human does, by the way. This
Right.
isn't about being better than anybody else. We're all the same this way, and nobody's alone in this kind of pattern. I mean, as a matter of fact, we share three things that I've identified universally. One is we live in this place of that we're just separated and we keep dividing, and we live in our default mechanisms that are often very defensive. Sometimes they're angry. Sometimes it's just like depressed and sad. And we continue, we share this thought system of that ego. And then we also have an opportunity to choose another thought system, which I call the genius, which is our place where, my God, we can live our best life now. We can be more purposeful. We feel more satisfying feeling in the life. And then the last thing is we have a right to choose between A or B, ego or genius. And that's the whole idea of the divine genius. My objective with this book is to help empower each of us individually to reclaim our truth, to decide again for our genius and our nature that makes us feel most fulfilled and happiness. And I decided, well, you better put forth a real pathway and stepping stones to do it, because otherwise it's just a bunch of conjecture and talk and information. And don't we have too much damn information in the world today? A bunch of talkers and this, everybody knows everything.
I think we have too much opinion.
Yeah, that's for sure.
It's been called information, but there's real data and there's opinion. I really like more of data. I want to make my own opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm totally with you on that. And I, it's interesting because one of the things that how I approach all this noise and all this opinion and all this stuff these days is not by necessarily ignoring it or tuning it out, although I do when it's appropriate, but by engaging with people in a new way of relating. And the new way that I'm choosing to relate with people that ostensibly I may have a differing opinion, perhaps, is that I care less, not care less, but I care less of why that is factually true in the world, and I care more why it's true for that person. In other words, I don't dismiss the factual piece, but I want to hear from them. Why is this really important for you? What is it that makes this important? So they are heard in their importance. And then that can lead to, well, let's look at the science. Right. Let's look at the facts. Let's look at a place where maybe a common place of meeting or not, or we just say, I don't need this. I don't need to spend my time with it, and move on.
And move on. And I think that's hard for people a lot of times, is to go, okay, well, that's not where I'm at. This is where I'm at. And being like, okay, well, that's cool. You stay over there at third base. I'm going on home. And be able to mitigate and be okay with it. I mean, we're seeing so much tunneling right now that it's ridiculous.
Absolutely. And share a little more on this tunneling. It's curious to me. And you bring up something that's interesting, because people are narrowing their way into a very finite way of being and thinking. And I'm not so sure that always is the best way to be in a
When
relationship
you
with others in the
begin,
world.
instead of wanting to learn and grow and do what you're supposed to do down here, you basically just burrow yourself into a tunnel of echo chambers. It's the same voices, same patterns, same thing for dinner. And it's like, can we just stop this? Let's go back to actually exploring ourselves, being what we're supposed to be doing down here, whether it's explorers or advisors or, the whole reason we came to this hellhole to begin with. I think people get stuck on that.
Well, they do. I mean, it's easy if you think about it. I mean, sadly, a lot of people get stuck in, say, in abusive relationships, and
Mhm.
they'd rather just stay in an abusive relationship than they fear leaving more
Right.
than they fear staying.
Hmm.
And it's quite insane. And one of the things that I've identified a little bit is like, and maybe it's more of a question for the audience is, I've identified 4 life experiences.
Hmm.
Which one are you having? Here they are. 1, life is happening to you. Poor me, I'm a victim. I don't have any power to choose or do what I want. I'm just a victim of this world. 2, life is happening from me. In other words, I can control the world. I can control my life. So think about this. We all live in this state of needing to control, and men in particular are more controlling than anything. But so is everybody. We want to survive, so we have this need by design, Darwinian kind of survival
Hmm.
mechanism of control. So that's the second. The third life experience that we're offered is life is happening for me. Oh my gosh, this is really like when I was a kid and I get to go to the playground and I get to decide who maybe I want to play with, or what would I want to go on the swing or play tetherball or whatever. You get to choose your playground in your life and who you want to
Hmm.
hang out with. So now you're learning. My God, life is like a school.
Uh-huh.
Life is a place where we get to really grow and fall down and fail but get up and really be in the experience, the magic of it all, if
Uh-huh.
that makes sense. And then fourthly, life is happening through us. Life is happening through us. Now that may be a stretch to even
Okay.
imagine what that's like, but in other words, this abundant universe
Hmm.
that we call this quantum field, that our quantum scientists are now showing that we're all connected in this field of greater abundance,
Hmm.
and that we is now coming down. We called it in. We made ourselves available to receive that abundance happening through me, and it's just like riding, like just untethering yourself, like the eagle is lifted your wings.
Hmm.
And this is the fourth life experience. So for your audience, you're living one of these, or you're kind of toggling between 2.
Hmm.
But once we tip away from the first one of victimhood and perpetrator, and the second one controlling, then we're tipping into becoming sovereign and
Right.
liberated from the old story that we've been living. And that's when I realized the game of life really began to change and became more fulfilling in its own way. Yes.
Right. Interesting you use the word sovereign. That's kind of an older word for the Americans to listen to.
Mhm.
But, that means having your own designation, having your own opinions, having your own kingdom of your world, and controlling it, or experiencing it, or enjoying it. Um, and that's a concept I don't think this current generation has.
Well, it doesn't, because we've been, although we have free will in form, in body, because that's the very thing that can get us the hell out of the
Right.
experiences that we had. So we have free will to choose and choose again, and then
Hmm.
choose again. to move through and beyond the old way of functioning in kind of our 1.0
Right.
human into our 2.0 human. But the idea of sovereignty is something that's now taking hold, because what we're finding is that, in particular, you referenced the younger generation. I mean, if you think about it, as you and I,
Mm-hmm.
there was no cell phone.
Right.
I mean, the fax machine came along and it was like some wonder of the world. But ultimately, we have now an entire generation and a half that's growing up. This is all they know. This
Right.
is all they existing. So they're in one aspect, their sovereignty is being taken and essentially enslaved into a dynamic. Look at the stats just around social media and what's going on there. It's crazy. But the idea of sovereignty is the idea that we're unencumbered
Mm-hmm.
as human beings, as geniuses. We are not encumbered by our limiting beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
We're not encumbered by our traumas. We're not encumbered by our governments. We're not encumbered by anything other than the absolute presence of our own state of light or love or God or whatever it might be for you. So that's sovereignty is something that is coming into play in a big way. The divine genius, the unlearning curve. And when I work with some of my clients, it's all about embracing sovereignty, if that makes some sense.
Oh, it makes total sense, because it's one of the things I try to imprint a lot of times is to take role and do your own thing, be who you are. And you were talking about it being, the cell phone being in your hand and doing it from your hand. In 10 years, it'll be on your arm and it'll just be like a hologram. I promise you, it'll be amazing. How do you think a business owner can bring divine genius into the workplace?
Well, it's what I am doing right now. What I'm experiencing is that we work the invitation, and I have quite a few blogs on my website at adamhall.solutions around bringing the wisdom teachings
Mm-hmm.
from the divine genius into your workplace,
Mm-hmm.
and to creating a culture that is a culture that moves away from competition to co-creation,
Mm-hmm.
cooperation. And that's often done through a process of forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, when we are unforgiving of ourselves
Right.
for our own actions, we all function in a way that's like, get out of my way. Oh, I got to survive. Oh, that belongs to me. Oh, I need more.
Mm-hmm.
And that mindset, that attitude, that way of functioning in our workplace is a
Mm-hmm.
way that is an old way, and
Mm-hmm.
it has its place of where it's worked, but it won't work going forward. So this idea, say, for example, of even bringing one of the first wisdom teachings of forgiveness into the workplace begins with forgiving ourselves and just showing up in a place that becomes more a place of kindness or compassion.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we're in that space, then we can have some fun and we can innovate better. And this has
Right.
been shown time and time again in a culture. A culture that can innovate is a culture that creates the space and the allowing for creative, even the wacky, crazy stuff that
Mm-hmm.
people come up with to come into the space. So that's how I am applying some of
Mm-hmm.
these principles for leadership or for companies to really build a culture that's not just mission driven, but it's also people and
Right.
and purpose and passionate.
And we
So,
hear this echoed from leaders like from Google and from Barbara Delozier, I think her name is. She's the real estate broker in New York that started out with one phone, one dust, and a disastrous relationship, and is now a millionaire. And that's one of the things she used to do. Is every quarter she would have a theme party for her whole company. and you could only come if you fit into theme, and they would go and do wacky stuff, because that was one of the important things in there, was being able to have fun, being able to be creative. And that's what she found, is after every, company outing, you know, one of them is like, she went and rented a double-decker bus and told everybody in her company to dress to their New York Nine. And then she drove through Harlem, and she had the bus driver fake a breakdown in the middle of Harlem.
God bless. God love her.
And, getting over this fear of competition, because competition is competition, it's business. Some people prefer Walmart, others people prefer Sears. It's part of business, but not letting it feed and eat at you is a very important part of running something bigger.
100%. I mean, I love how you got to change it up and mix it up, because when people get out of their comfort zone, and all of a sudden it starts to reveal to ourselves and to certainly to others our own fears.
Right.
And also reveals the reactive nature to and it makes conscious the reactive nature, how we deal with things when we're stressed out, or that may invoke, God forbid, maybe a very traumatic experience. But ultimately, it's not that it happens, it's what you do with it, because
Right.
shit happens, life happens. And it's like, how do we want to embrace this so that we can up level ourselves into this more genius nature? And that's really key. And I think there's lots of ways. I mean, the indigenous cultures, and they would initiate people by leaving them out in the desert somewhere, and or leaving them in the mountains with the coyotes. They do these things that were ultimately really served to break down old wiring in the brain, old patterns of learning and belief systems. Because, like you said early on, that we have a lot of junk there. We have a lot of stuff on this beautiful hard drive, this beautiful massive operating system we call the human body, that's just sitting there, and it's eating up our space and our capacity and our functioning capability. And I say that we're only operating at about 10% of our capability and potential.
I'd say 5. I'll go lower. I'll go 5%.
Yeah, whatever it is, but it's pretty minimal, isn't it?
It is, especially if we're looking at with someone that has done the same job for 20 years. They, are couch potato city. They're taught that, they have to take the weekends off to go do, and, go to the basketball game, or they have to do this. So they just jump into this, we'll call it instant cookie mold of a person. And it's like, no, what if you want to go and do something different? You need to make that change. My listeners are very familiar. I've been working on a planner system for a while now. And last night I threw it all out the butt and started over because things weren't working for me. And we have not gotten to a flexibility in our culture to easily switch and change what we need to change to work for us.
That's for sure. I mean, I think those patterns and that repetition, if you want to continue down the same path, look where it's gotten you, but look where it's gotten our planet. By God, the planet is in its own state of hurt and challenge. It's not just the pandemic. It's not just climate change. It's not it's all of these things.
Right. And I'll throw this at you. I think the pandemic has been great for the planet.
I do too.
The planet itself has done wonderful with it. I mean, we've got sea back into the British River. We've got dolphins reappearing in Venice, and you can see down to the bottom of the ocean. We've got, air clearing up that hasn't been cleared in years in LA. Why? Because, the humans got a clue and slowed down and started operating within their own biosphere.
Well, 100%. I mean, if you think about, cleaning up our own biosphere and really attuning to our biofield, what is immediately within our own environments.
Right.
And I, many people are are recognizing, my God, I need to build a better relationship with my partner because we sat at home together. Or, hey, my God, my partnership got even better because we were able to just be together and explore things together and not be defaulting into other things. So it's in many, many, many ways it has. And of course, it's not to say it hasn't been without challenge or
Right.
chaos. I mean,
Or
a lot
pain.
of the stats are really pretty brutal in many stats, and I don't want to get overly into the heavy, darker side of things. But ultimately, the pandemic is serving the greater good, I think, of the planet. It did for me because I found myself into getting into a place of deeper self-acceptance. My God, I'm okay. I'm here and showing up and wanting to help other people and have some fun and share some good love, make some money, of course, but to really do something meaningful for the planet. So the pandemic is really continues to, if you ask me, sharpen us because we're in the journey of what is going to move next into this
What
realm.
changed for you?
Well, the main thing is the change for me. Well, not just during the pandemic, but just kind of say from Adam 1.0 to Adam 2.0, let's just say. And in the journey, this arc I was talking about of writing my first book, The Earthkeeper Undeveloping to the Divine Genius. And what really changed was a deeper sense of self-love and self-acceptance. I felt often that I was not worthy in my own way. I didn't know that initially. I felt a deep sense of abandonment from the earlier part of my life. And there was this little piece of Adam, and I believe everybody has a little version of themselves that often gets left behind. I mean, it grew up and that little Adam was hurt, wounded, and kind of went and hid away and said, don't mess with me. I don't want to deal with the world. Well, that came back to roost. And so what happened is I began to love myself and love that little Adam more so. And it changed my world actually. And that was the key. And that was a big part of the path that I think we all have to take in our own way. Not a right or wrong, not a good or bad, but we're all in this together, and that's the journey. And if you don't want to do that, then you're not showing up for yourself. You're not showing.
And you're not showing up for your importance. Like me, I traveled 45 weekends a year to 52 weekends a year.
Really?
I had an office
insane.
outside of my house. We were on the go constantly. My partner came into the relationship with a car with less than 10,000 miles on it. Within 3 years of our relationship, we had gotten it over 100,000 miles just because of all the travel we were doing. Because he stepped into my life and became like right there, always with me. And that's been really good. But this last year, we closed the office down as soon as they shut us down. We shut down, and then we, event after event canceled, and it's just like, okay, now what do we do? And of course, I pivoted and changed business models quickly because I'd already had plans about, one day when I get time, I'm going to stop this and this and this. But it's really enabled us to get back connected. I found it interesting that, we started doing a lot of home repair because finally we're here and it's like, the kitchen sucks. Why do we have a kitchen like this? Why do we have this? So we started doing that, but it's really been building on creating the life we want. And so the life that spins out and develops into whatever.
Yeah. And together.
I mean, we work hand in hand on a lot of stuff. We're in two different worlds. I'm in the metaphysical world. He's in the tech world. And I can dance over into his world and do fine there, although my oxygen level gets a little low, so I go back to my world. And he can come over to our world sometimes, but his sugar goes up because of the donut glaze. So I was wondering how, with you and your partnership, how did that change for you as you began accepting and loving yourself more?
Well, I as a man, that was a big thing because if you think about it, how can you love someone else if you're not loving yourself very deeply? Or maybe you can only love someone else as much as you love yourself. And I
Right.
believe that is very, very true.
Mhm.
And obviously, I was married early on. I have 3 beautiful children. Believe it or not, I have 5 granddaughters right now
Oh,
as well.
goodness.
And then I actually mentioned a partner I had that I went on the quest with sometime, and we have a beautiful relationship, although we're not in partnership anymore, but we continue to be really solid friends and consciously relating. But ultimately, what is now really emerged at this stage is to move into what I refer to is the kind of the weaving of the beloved, the divine love that's present for all of us in our own selves, but also present omnipresent in the universe. That divine love, to weave a beloved into a partnership.
Right.
And a partnership means that it integrates our the union of each other in a transcendent place, away from just not Adam or Lisa but up to this place. So we're meeting in a transcendent space. And when I'm talking with people and doing some work around relationship, one of the things that I share is that there's 4 kinds of relationships. One is there's role mates. Okay, you're in relationship. You're, say, a father, a mother, or you're a husband or a wife, and you play these roles and you do these things according to how the culture is and how you get defined. The second type of relationship is soulmates, and everybody, we always talk about deeper connection, soul connection, not just heart connection, body connection, mind connection, but soul connection. So those are powerful relationships. The third type of relationship is a wholemate, which is what I describe as 2 people that come together to form a third entity. They're whole, their body, mind, spirit, and whole. They're connected with themselves, within themselves, as sovereign, and then they connect into a place of wholeness. And in that place, that leads to the 4th kind of relationship, which are divine mates, which is an ascended relationships. And we see a lot of those type of relationships come from mysticism, primarily Hindu mysticism, and old kind of mysticism and stories that existed, where these divas and these divine gods and goddesses existed in a divine state. And of course, you can be some or all of them. You don't have to just
you don't have to have only one post-it note or one name badge with a title underneath it.
Yeah, right.
And that can get very complicated. And it's like a lot of people get stuck on this soulmate idea, and they're looking for the soulmate. And I'm like, you don't want your soulmate. You want someone that can actually work with you this life. Just because you 2 shared a life before doesn't mean that he's going to be great this time. He really sucked last time when you chopped your head off.
That's it. And I think that's the whole idea of getting past just the role and the definitions and the stereotype of, okay, you belong in the kitchen, or you belong to do this or X, Y, and Z. And also to move back into, because we're here on Earth, we're not in some, ethereal state exclusively. Of course, we do function. We're spiritual beings. We're actually quantum beings having a spiritual experience in my experience. But ultimately, we're whole. How do we come together? Because we're here. We're here to have this experience. So it's about integrating those things. So that's the main thing that's changed for me, through the inner acceptance, through the self-care, through loving the places within me that felt most unloved.
Right. And that's important to do. So your other book, Earthkeeper, what's it about?
Well, the Earth Keeper is the first part of my trilogy, and it was
Uh-huh.
really about the quest,
Uh-huh.
leaving the world, place where I was the Earth Conqueror, the serial entrepreneur, the CEO, building businesses, get out of my way, mofo kind of attitude,
Mm-hmm.
to narcissistic type of
Mm-hmm.
experience, and moving away into becoming what in the shamanic traditions we call earth keeping. Instead
Right.
of earth conquering,
Mm-hmm.
we've been earth conquerors. We're raping and
Right.
pillaging earth and all things primarily feminine. But now we're moving into a place of becoming earth keepers. So
Mm-hmm.
the invitation for all of us is to be an earth keeper. And
Right.
that's what the journey is about, because I believe that we undevelop the future,
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily develop it, but we undevelop it, which is the unlearning curve of the second book,
Mm-hmm.
Divine Genius, is a pragmatic grounding of how to undevelop your
Mm-hmm.
future. In other words, so you're not living in the future's past. So that's
Right.
what that book is about. And it's about my own personal trajectory. And that piece revealed these 4 paths that are very indigenous to ancient cultures,
Right.
and the 4 ways of really functioning in the world, both in body, both in our emotional, psycho-spiritual state,
Mm-hmm.
both in our mental state, as
Mm-hmm.
well as our spiritual state. So
Mm-hmm.
I begin to train as a shaman, and
Uh-huh.
traveling into the jungles of Peru, and doing the medicinal medicines and working with a shamanic lineage, as
Mm-hmm.
well as then embracing other teachings, primarily A Course in Miracles. But that's what led in that book, the Earth
Right.
Keepers out.
And that book itself, The Course in Miracles, has been one of those fundamental books in the current spiritual cosmos. Like that's one everybody should have on their shelves, that everyone should go through, is the Course in Miracles, understanding that thought ideas, getting into your spiritual self, like your real spiritual self, not what everyone says you are. um I think that that's a really great book. um so tell us about your meeting place. Like, mine always looks like a boardroom. Whenever I'm dealing with Ascended Masters, I know that I'm dealing with Ascended Masters because it looks like I've walked into the boardroom and it's like, great, what do you guys got for me now? What's your experience like?
Well, I do my work in what I call the Genius Studio.
Mm-hmm.
And the Genius Studio it's a place of home. It's not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily a place that is defined by a work experience.
Mm-hmm.
So first and foremost, it's about being home, grounded, place of comfort and safety and trust.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the kind of place that I offer for people that I work with, so that they can come into a place called the Genius Studio
Mm-hmm.
that's powerfully transformative.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm up to. Hold on,
Uh,
I'm gonna get a lozenge through my throat.
okay.
Hold on, buddy. All right, I'm back. I'm coming back.
Welcome back.
Get a little lozenge in there.
Yeah.
I'm a little verbose tonight, so forgive me, people.
That's perfectly fine. It's been going around a lot. We've got fall coming in and winter coming in, and it doesn't know what it wants yet.
Well, we get to ride it, and
Mm-hmm.
we want everybody to be safe and be well, and all of
Right.
those things. And but we were talking about the studio and something. You got a
Mm-hmm.
boardroom.
Yeah.
I have advisors,
Mm-hmm.
both spiritual advisors, a couple teachers, as
Mm-hmm.
well as other people that I get to share with, that to
Right.
really provide that mirror. In other words,
Right.
what am I here to learn? And that's, the second key wisdom teaching is, what is our purpose? And, when I get into this, people think, oh, I gotta have a purpose. I gotta go be a accountant. I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to be a healer. I gotta have a purpose in life. And well, yes. And there's a little more to that.
Mm-hmm.
And what I would share with a little more to it is that it's very confusing and difficult for people because they often can't find or feel their purpose that serves them very well.
Right.
And I think this is happening more than ever because people are leaving their places of work. They're
Mhm.
leaving their relationships. They're looking for more meaning and purpose in life, right? And
Right.
that's what I would call seeking something else.
Mhm.
And that's when we begin in the seeking journey to look outside of ourselves.
Mhm.
So the wisdom teaching that I offer in the Divine Genius, the Unlearning Curve on true purpose, is everything it's the same purpose. Every
Right.
person and every event. Let me share why makes it easy. Everything has a purpose to remind us and teach us how to come into our own authentic self, our truth. That's our genius. So when I work with people, and what I talk a lot about it's not about purpose, it's about mission.
Right.
What is your mission? And this is the beauty of what's happening in neuroscience today,
Mhm.
is that we can rewire our brain waves to come into attunement with a greater abundance of
Mhm.
this quantum field of this whole place of greater abundance. We can rewire ourselves through a process of serving something greater than ourselves.
Mhm.
If you don't hear anything else tonight, that's a key component. If we're serving something greater than ourselves, the universe will cooperate and synchronize ourselves with others, with resources, money, shelter, whatever it is, because that's what happens when we have a mission.
Mhm.
That's a powerful component. And you're sharing all 11 years on this great show that you're doing.
Mhm.
Your mission.
Well, it's part of my mission. I have a multifaceted mission. So my, how do people work with you? Because now you've got the books out, but you also do coaching services too.
Yeah, well, what I'm doing, you can obviously go to of course, I encourage everybody to check out my website at adamhall.solutions.
Uh
And
huh.
I'm there, I'm sharing blogs and giving away all kinds of things
Right.
that are really cool and helpful and informative. At least I
Mhm.
believe it is. And the feedback I get from those is that, yeah, it's life-changing
Mhm.
in so many ways. So I spend my time doing really two things. I spend my time being of service to my community. In other words, helping people to inspire them into, solving problems and challenges that
Mhm.
they're facing in their life. And I work with leaders and I work with other people through what I refer to as advisory services. They're not just coaching services.
Mhm.
A coach will help you manage your life and live your life.
Right.
But as an advisor, as a confidant, as a guide, my work is to help you transcend a life experiencing that just doesn't work anymore. It's
Right.
either creating disease or it's creating division or partnership problems. So
Mhm.
my work is more than simply coaching. It's to
Right.
transform people's lives. So I work with men and women. I make myself available on a limited basis to just to do a few sessions together to solve challenges, to solve problems that you're facing, and to do it immediately because our best days are now and ahead. And when
Right.
we live in the past or we have obstacles and get stuck like we talk so much about tonight,
Right.
it's just not that much fun. And life's
Right.
about having fun and having a lot of love.
Right. And what's the summit you got coming up? Where is it? What is it?
I got there's this great summit coming up on December 21st called the Earth Keeper Summit. Greg Braden will be there. Anita Morjani is going to be there. There's
Mhm.
going to be, the list goes on and wonderful, powerful shaman. are going to be there. It's an extraordinary event where science meets optimal health and wellness, so that each of us can uplift ourselves to build a better world. So
Right.
I'm a featured presenter there, and I encourage everybody. Actually, I don't have the link yet because it's coming out this week, but I encourage everybody, Google Earthkeeper Summit and sign up for that, because this is going to be a great event. There's no cost to anybody. And
Is it location based, or are you doing it online?
all online.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll ever go back to the big summits again in person?
No.
Like,
I think we'll go back to events. But I think they're going to be, they'll look and feel very, very different
right.
than they have. And it's all good.
Yeah. Well, I think it's really good because I don't know. I used to throw events too, and one of the things that I noticed is that with the online, it doesn't matter where you are. You can connect into it. We used to have people drive 6 states down for Beltane Forest, a 1-day event, and I'm like, you're nuts. And they're like, no, we wanted to come and be here, and I'm like, awesome. But now they don't have to drive 6 states. They can. We're not sure what we're doing with it yet, but these major summits, like ICANN, finally going online, Tarot Universe going online. I think this is going to enable a lot of people to do more things, more creative things,
quicker and faster,
quicker and faster,
and less expense.
Right. And also, it really enables what I call the smaller coaches, the smaller people out there that are still information gathering, to get interlinked into these communities. Because I'm sorry, metaphysics is a community-based thing. It's used to be who you know and how you knew them, on whether you even knew it was going on. Bigger publishing houses are always, like Hay House has always been a leader in things. Llewellyn has always been a leader in things. But getting that interconnection is something I've been seeing going on a lot. What about you? What's your viewpoint of it?
Well, it's not just a viewpoint. What I'm experiencing working with my clients and things I'm doing online is, well, 2 things. One is I do love being with people. I'm a little bit old fashioned. I'm connected. So I got to be honest here. I do like that. And I do have that to a certain degree. But on the other hand, my experience is that it can be equally as effective to connect with people. I know shamanically, we do energy work, and that doesn't necessarily mean to be with somebody in person. Obviously, great, but ultimately we can work right here, right now, to transform that energy body into a greater place of optimal health and balance, because it's all about balance and wellness. So my experience of it is this is a yes and. I think in person has great value and people enjoy it, and I certainly do. Will it be big and monstrous as it was? I don't think so. And online. So this is the best of both worlds. We got it all.
Right. Now, you're coming out of the entrepreneur CEO world. What would be your 2 things that you see changing in that world?
Well, that world is up for radical overhaul. And that
It's
world,
50 years.
what?
The CEO, entrepreneur.
The whole CEO world in particular is because the top to bottom command and control structure has been long unwinding, and now it's actually collapsing. And so, and the key thing that's happening there is it's very level. Instead of, like, if you were in a building, instead of going up to the top floor to be with the honcho, you can walk. It's a level playing field. It's a level, accessible space of connection because it's very transparent. The other thing happening there is the rise, so to speak, of women, long overdue. The brilliance and wisdom of women are essential and core to building our business world and our business culture in a powerful and a radical new way. It's happening, and it's not happening fast enough, but it's happening. and I support that. So I think that's one of the key things that are happening is leadership is recognizing that they are not in a command control, that they need to operate from from both top to bottom, bottom to top, and side to side.
Right.
In other words, embracing all their aspects of their company. So culture is really, really, really evolving quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think lastly, I think people in business are recognizing that the value of people is simply not in terms of having them perform, a widget type of function.
Right.
That we're going to be robotic. We're going to move off a lot of things to AI and technology.
Mm-hmm.
And the value of our people and our genius requires training and really becoming into greater consciousness and empowerment of ourselves. Without that, I think many of us are going to struggle, and I think the world will be very challenging. But these are not only difficult times, they're very opportunistic times. I've never felt better in so many ways about where we are and what we can do together. And I just have had a great time being here with you tonight and all of your audience.
Well,
And look forward to sharing more with you as you go.
Yes. And again, your website is davidhall.solutions.
Adam Hall. It's
Adam Hall.solutions. And your book is Divine Genius. Get it at your bestsellers. Barnes & Noble, Amazon's got some great ones up there.
Absolutely. You can get my book on Amazon worldwide. Appreciate the support. Also on my website, you can get all kinds of free things.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate the support and in any way, but I want to here to support everybody to take your power back. Embrace our truth as our genius, and think what we can contribute to build a better world together.
Very much so. Thank you so much for coming on. You have a great evening.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice to be here with you.
Nice to be here. Okay, taking back over the co-host seat is Techy Joe. How are you, darling?
I'm doing well. I've been knocking some stuff out in Illustrator, which I haven't been in years.
Oh, goodness. You've been really busy then.
I have. One of our clients just finally got a Yule logo, so life is good.
Awesome.
So yeah, it's been a fun evening that way.
It has been.
Yeah.
Hey, Brenda. Hi, Shannon, our Facebook user. How are you guys? I hope you enjoyed having Adam on. He's very interesting to get into. His book's very interesting. So I thought we could quickly go through some of our standard segments.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think we can pull that off.
Yeah, it seems like we could do probably Who's the Asshole? And also good news.
A good news and an Am I the Asshole? Wow.
Yeah.
All right. That's a lot, actually. But let me see what I can pull up in Am I the Asshole? Because that's always a fun place.
Mm-hmm.
Yay. So let's see, where are we at? Oh, let's see. Because there's always some good ones that pop in, and then there's some that I don't know what to think. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we do have a meteor shower coming in next, Spectre Garment shower next week. See up to 120 shooting stars per hour. It'll peak on December 13th, about 6 days away. Granted, it may be a little cold. This is normal. And it'll go on all the way until sunrise Tuesday. During that time, you can be looking at different showers, different things going on. Remember, shooting stars is a great time to make some wishes and some determinations. According to NASA, it's caused by a storm of debris left by asteroids 32,000 Pantheon. When the Earth passes through the traveling dust every December left by 32,000 Pantheon, we see the Garmin meteor shower. Of course, I'm going to warn people, meteor showers always affect the weather so differently. It may be a little all over the place.
Hey, there we go. Well, I do think I found one, and this one's gonna be fun.
Oh boy.
All right, ready for it?
Sure.
All right, am I the asshole for telling my boyfriend that he should have covered up his tattoos if he wanted any respect from my family? My boyfriend and I have been together for almost 2 years. We're polar opposites, but managed to work through our differences in the past. For some context, he's almost 90% tattooed, up to his neck, and comes from a difficult background, to put it mildly. Today he's employed and doing well for himself, but his upbringing was quite rough. I wouldn't describe myself as posh at all, but I come from a family where image, looks, and your accomplishments matter. However, I'd say I'm a little more casual than that. A few months ago, I finally got the courage to introduce him to my family. This was a huge deal to me, and I told him that first impressions would make or break everything. I told him that he will cover his tattoos, no ifs, ands, or buts, because my parents are super old-fashioned. I bought him an outfit for the night to ensure he'd look presentable and classy. We had a practice run, and I told him what he should or shouldn't say, how to talk, how to address any of my dad's concerns, etc. At no point did he ever show any enthusiasm, so that was a bad sign. Can't imagine why.
Oh, I don't know.
Fast forward to the dinner. It was an absolute disaster. My parents and sister were a little critical, but they're like that with any guy I date. My boyfriend was so pissed that he purposefully unbuttoned the top of his shirt so you could see his tatted neck. Of course, that offended my parents, and a huge argument ensued. Not only were they telling him that he's not good enough for me, they were telling me how disappointed they are. It was a nightmare. To make it worse, my boyfriend told them that I like his tattoos, which I do, but he was just adding fuel to the fire, and that it didn't matter what they think. They told him to leave. It goes without saying that my parents have zero respect for him now. It was already difficult to convince them that he's much sweeter than he may appear. My mom has been hysterical and asking why I'm having intimate relations with someone who looks like they belong in prison. He's not a criminal. I have been guilt-tripped and made to feel like complete shit, all because he chose to wreak havoc.
Yes, you are the asshole.
Oh, a couple of days ago we were arguing, and I told him that he should have hid his tattoos if he wanted any respect from people like my family. He was hurt and said that it's fucked up that I want him to change to gain respect from them. He even claimed that I'm obviously embarrassed to be associated with him and not even worthy of respect in his eyes. None of that is true, just saying. After that argument, we haven't talked much. So, am I the asshole for telling my boyfriend that he should have covered his tattoos if he wanted to establish a level of respect my parents could work from? It's not that they bother me. I think he's crazy attractive, tattoos or not, but he knew that my parents would freak out. Edit, the amount of women DMing me that they're single and asking if I've broken up with him yet is pathetic. It wasn't funny the first time, and it isn't funny now. Also, I think mods can lock this post now.
Because we should have locked it at the beginning of, yes, you are an asshole. This is a big problem, and normally a problem for me when dealing with families. I have jaded glasses with families to begin with. No, I'm not hiding my tat.
Well, I mean, like, I think every couple invariably goes through the, like, look, there's some things my parents aren't going to be cool with, or my family's not going to be cool with. And, like, you know, just, like, maybe don't bring that up. Tattoos, you don't get an option on. I really don't think you do. I think that's probably, like, you got to start there and just, the tattoos exist and move on.
Exactly.
Like, because otherwise, this is like a really bad peep show.
Well, this is worse
Because
than
literally, well, because what's effectively happening is you're gonna have to cover him up in the male equivalent of a burqa, which is pretty much easy.
Mhm.
Start with the turtleneck shirt or turtleneck sweater and go straight down to shoes, socks, and pants.
Mhm.
You're pretty covered.
No.
Like, unless he has hand tattoos or anything above the neck, then
Yeah.
you can't. Well, or I don't know. Like, she sounds like someone who would have like thrown makeup at him.
Well,
Like,
Dermabond will cover tats, but
I'm just, yeah, I like, oh, but again, I think that like there's some things that I could understand. Like, you might not want to mention like you've been to prison on the first meeting with the parents. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if it's not like a felony murder, but it's like, did some time for some weed when I like 20 years ago. Fuck it. Don't tell mom and dad.
right.
Like, that's a, reasonable request.
Mhm.
Or, if you're in a situation where like maybe that first time you don't tell them about like your 5 ex-wives and 6 kids.
Right.
Maybe don't lead with that. Again, I think there's some things with couples that, like, because even you were like, we're not bringing up what I do for a living. I am a life coach.
Right. We are.
And I'm like, oh, honey, this isn't going to be a
one
problem.
box. And it's because I don't know. I have a 4-page resume just for all the shit I do. I have now 3 planners for all the shit I do. But that's different. That was me putting a limit towards you. Because I'm sorry, you have some lovely family members. Some of them I don't see eye to eye with, and that's okay. But I don't want to be the first meeting of, oh, let me pull out my cards and let's see what the hell's going on with your marriage. Yeah, this is why this is fucked up.
And I just went to like, no, Rocket, like, you're seriously not going to have an issue here.
Right.
Like, well, I will guarantee you
still ended up having an issue.
What?
Yes. Because she didn't follow the plan. Once she, and she's a supporter of the show, she ended up having an issue with one of her friends because of me. And I'm like,
Oh. Okay, but still, that was totally independent.
Still.
That was totally independent. That was that was one of those moments where, like, again, that was a thing that, like, my family was cool.
Mm-hmm.
My family was cool. Now, that did unfortunately turn into a situation where she thought her friend would be cool. And her friend was so not cool.
Right.
Like, her friend was like, no.
Yeah.
No. Like, the fuck you just said is where her friend ended up.
Right.
So that's a little different. Like, I find that really different.
But like my nails, my hair, my outfits.
But I called my family.
Uh-huh.
Like, I kept trying to tell you there is no need. Like, I don't want to have to fix this later. Like,
yeah.
That was my whole thing, was like, I do not want to have to fix this later. Like, 1, I don't think it'll be a problem. 2, if it is, let's get that one out of the way.
Right.
Like, chill, everyone. Again, I was cool with whatever you wanted to do, and life coach technically applies.
Yes, because I'm a life coach. We spent the lovely, $5,000 for the papers to show it.
Well, not just technically you are, but I mean,
right.
Like, to a large degree, like, network psychic, kind of very similar.
Right.
Like, a lot of the calls you get are like, your tarot deck could like disappear off your desk for like, a few hours. And I think you could easily Like, because I don't think sometimes you even get questions that are like tarot related, like, what the fuck would the tarot cards do for you in this one?
Well, they do. I mean, you got to know how
I
to
mean,
read the
sometimes.
cards, and it's multi-level. And yes, I use my cards with every reading, but at the same time, I'm pulling from so many different sources of information: tarot, clairvoyancy, sometimes numerology. But dealing with families and dealing with families in general is problematic.
Yeah.
She should have stood up. She should be standing up, and she should be telling them, "He's dating me, not you."
Well, and fundamentally, like, there's like, yeah, I see some very like toxic, controlling family there.
Right.
Like, hold on, I just want to take the toxic out of that sentence. I see some very controlling family there.
Right.
That, like, I don't know how old she is. Like, this is what I'm afraid of, is there's some like other screwed up dynamic. Like, she's 19 and he's 39.
No.
Like,
I've seen this reaction to tattoos before, and it's bullshit. Okay. You can ask, a number of your family members that has gorgeous artwork, some of the responses they get. But this is just bullshit and a half. She's an asshole. She should stand up to her family. They're not covering her 4 Fs. He's at least covering 2 of her Fs.
yeah, basically. But no, God. I like, yay for him for calling this exactly as it is.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, he's very much on board with, like, this is so screwed up. Like, he does not sound like he is taking an ounce of guilt for this one. Like, I fucked up my girlfriend's relationship with her family. No, you didn't, dude. You so didn't.
Not only that, dude, but you done better for you. And I'm gonna make a suggestion: ditch the bitch and go find you. Ask her for her DMs and see who's applicable for an application.
Yeah. Oh, that was a hell of a. Am I the asshole?
Well, let's read some of our comments from our listeners, Joe.
Oh yeah. So they are the asshole to try to change him, to hide him for almost 2 years and not stand up for him. They were going to see them come the first hot day of summer. I'm team tear that Band-Aid off. I see it as red flags that he needs to think about. Oh, fuck yes.
Yes.
And my family is racist as fuck. Believe me, didn't try to hide my husband wasn't white when they were about to meet. Fair enough. So, like, that one would be, well, not always hard. Like, there are people who are, that are black that have passed. Like, there's a whole, like, historical thing on that. Of passing as white. So not every time does that have to be so, like, duh. It's like kind of hard to hide. But no, I mean, I don't know. Yeah.
Point blank.
But then again, like, it sounds like this was the worst, like, I'm thinking she should have already been done. Like, there's a bigger issue here that she should have already been done with her family.
Right.
Like, obviously, she doesn't agree.
Well, she cannot agree, but she's an idiot.
Yeah, same as one of our user comments about hiding, their non-white spouse. Like, you already disagree. You quite obviously disagree. Like, you very much disagree. This isn't like,
right.
I kind of think that maybe, this white privilege thing is bullshit versus, like, I have a, non-white spouse.
Right.
Like, that's, you're in a similar, like, you can be close there. Like, that's kind of a racist thing, but it's not inherently racist as fuck.
Right.
Like, that's educatable. when you're like, I don't think that people that are non-white are human,
Right.
versus I married someone who isn't,
Mm-hmm.
or that isn't white. Sorry, be careful with that. I just realized I had fucked up modifiers there. Yeah, that would be a nightmare. Like, no. One, you need to be done with your family. Two, you're like, whoa, you do not drag that spouse into that.
Right.
No, no, no.
Again,
Not in a let's pretend I'm something I'm not.
exactly. Or let's cover me and make, nah.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Yeah, he needs a new woman.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we're all in agreement there. Like, she should be like single like tomorrow.
Oh,
Or yesterday even.
before the show even goes live onto Spotify, she should be single.
Mhm. But and then next comment is first words out of my mouth were he's Mexican and I best best not hear shit about it from any of you. And she should have said he's got tattoos. Don't say shit. I like them.
Right.
That's a good opener for that, but that's still like that was a conversation that needed to occur before.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a conversation she needed to have.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next meeting, if like that can work out, bring him along, and the minute it goes sideways, out the door we go.
Right.
Like that's a reasonable supportive spouse like move.
Right.
Like you just gotta nope, we're not doing this. Like obviously you can't,
Right.
so I can't be here. Like, and unfortunately there are some families that are like, yeah, we'll totally make some bullshit out of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just I hate that for him. Like that was ugly. That was like super, super ugly.
Mm-hmm.
Oy, oy.
Well, college mom, when I say college mom, her child is away in college. She is at home, and the college student was missing her mother's cooking. So the mother came up with a sweet solution. When in college, student and empathizer Lauren Hollins told her mother that she was sad the food she cooked never tasted like her mother's. She didn't expect to wake up the next morning with 6 videos from her mom with instructions on how to make her favorite foods waiting for her. Holly then posted these to TikTok, to her TikTok feed, and now the internet feels appropriately mothered.
Aw,
Yeah,
that's very sweet.
the username is at lo.hollis. And it is literally how to cook stuff. And commenters are going, please do more. My mother never taught me how to cook. I need help. Laugh out loud. Wrote one. Another one wrote, she's our mom now.
Oh God, how much does that have to suck when it's like we're taking your mother?
So Mama Hollis has gained a lot of fans, and it's really blowing up. There is almost like 500,000 likes on the first video.
Mm-hmm. Wow,
I just think it's amazing.
that is super, super cool.
Yes.
Like that is so super cool.
Yeah, so there's our good news. Now I'm going to get into some bitchier news.
Okay.
Okay, as y'all guys know, we've got a little team of psychics that are working together and rising everybody up. One of them being Miss Dottie the Psychic. She's an amazing psychic. She does very good work. She recently is also a YouTuber, and she dropped out a video called Psychic Scammers. It's a good damn video. You guys have heard me bitch about this for years, and she finally just put it in a nice 15, 20-minute video.
I think it's closer to 30.
Is it closer to 30? Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's closer to 30.
Okay.
Like I'll double check, like, but I'm like it's a chunk.
Okay.
Because it's a lot to cover. It's not a short
It is.
subject.
It's not a short subject. It's a very deep, invested subject. So it's a very long subject. Not one day later, our little lady Gwendolyn messages us a picture of a TikTok station with her name, Lady Gwendolyn Healing, 1, and her profile image and privated videos.
Yeah.
Guys, please verify that you're interacting with your psychic. When I say that, I don't care if you see my face there. If if you don't see me there, if you don't know that I'm pushing out this site or that site, or you go to one of my websites and you don't see a button or the profile says nothing like mine. Oh, the video is 36 minutes and 23 seconds.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say, it's like, there's a lot to cover there.
There is. Please be careful. I will always use the same profile images across the board. I do not change my profile images unless I do another photo shoot. I have the same messaging. I have the same videos. I use the same username. If I can't get my username, I will not use another username. If it is not Aeson Knight, then it's not me. Or Aeson R Knight on some of the networks. I'll put the R in there because, you can only have one username and you're on like 6 different networks on Click for Advisor. But on social media, I am always Aeson Knight. Dottie the Psychic is always Dottie the Psychic, not Dottie the Psychic 1 or Dottie the Psychic 222 or anything like that. Lady Gwendolyn Healing is always Lady Gwendolyn Healing. It is not Lady Gwendolyn Healing 1. If you see profiles like that, please bring them to our attention. Please bring them to the original creator's attention and also report them. This can be very damaging.
Yeah. Well, like on multiple levels.
Right.
Because 1, all of this gets associated with that image and name.
Right.
And so it does damage to the professional whose reputation's going to take the hit.
Right.
But then it also, typically people who do this aren't just like looking for a small leg up and like, let me ride your coattail.
Right.
Typically they're looking to be exploitative.
Right.
So like anyone who ends up their customer or ends up getting services from them is effectively going to turn around and get some bullshit.
Right.
So yeah, it's a double-edged sword. It's really ugly.
It is.
I mean,
and we've had to deal with this with companies. I've had to send out cease and desist orders because one company was using my picture, my profile picture, in their advertising, and I wasn't part of their network. Another company had bought assets from a company that closed down and was using the videos but didn't have usage rights.
Well, yeah, not only that, it was like it was a whole mess.
Oh, it's
like
been
again,
a whole mess.
Yeah, it's like companies can be bad enough. Individuals are horrific. But even companies can be bad about this shit.
Right. So guys, be careful who you're dealing with. Please verify. Make sure you see my lovely face and all its models there. Make sure you see any other creator's face and lovely models there. And if it isn't me, report the shit. If it isn't Dottie, report the shit. If it isn't Melissa, report the shit. If it isn't any of your other favorite creators that work very hard to put out content, report it. But also remember to bring it to our attention so that we can take action, so that we can send the cease and desist letter, so that we can send the DMC's takedowns. And yeah, I will send in a DMC takedown.
Oh yeah. Like that's just
right.
Yeah. Things that annoy the crap out of me.
Right.
Like I mean, it is one thing to like, because we see this a lot in the world now,
Yeah.
Like copyright is so often abused.
Right.
And we try very hard. Like we use sites that specifically allow reuse of images.
Right.
Like, I try to be very, very careful about that. I try to be very, very careful that we're not using content we shouldn't be.
Right.
And even at that, like sometimes it's a struggle to figure out, like, because there's even people that will go through and get content and re-upload it
Mm-hmm.
as though it's their own asset. It's like copyright's gotten ugly.
Right.
And that can put people into a really ugly place, because here I am walking around, going, let me be very careful and only use, appropriate sources for this content. And quite frankly, like any other consumer in the market, I don't know.
Right.
If I find content that is, free for commercial use, for instance, and I use it, but it's been re-uploaded from something someone else downloaded without a license or without that kind of license to share and share alike, I don't know.
Right.
But it can screw up a lot of people all at once. It's a nightmare.
Right. But, things like TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, everywhere else, you're creating that. You're creating that username. You're copying that username.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Copy her image. Now, this isn't an old image. This was a pic Lady Gwen released last weekend.
Yeah. Like, hi, I just got new pictures. Boom. And all of a sudden, boom.
Boom.
I'm like, what the hell, man?
It's just gotten ridiculous. Our world has gotten ridiculous. That's why, we will be changing my images up in 2022. We will be doing some different things to have fun with. There is a video dropping tomorrow of my planner system. It has my full planner system. It is the system I'm using. I just changed the size of one of them last night.
You did.
I went from a classic back to a big because my day was so full. I tried to lay it out 3 different times and it didn't work. No matter what I did, it didn't work. There was not enough space. So I went back to a lined vertical happy big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's page size. Page size is all that changed. He went from classic to big.
Right.
Because,
still
sometimes
the same. You guys will get to see it. That is going to be out on the YouTube tomorrow. So be sure to check that in. I think I'm uploading at 3. I will be uploading YouTube videos that are subject based on Wednesdays.
Awesome.
Yes. Of course, you're getting your daily story, your daily TikTok, your daily short YouTube and long YouTube videos. Those are going up every day. And we're going to be making that work. And then, we're going to be working on some other things. It's been a great show. We have some great stories that we're going to be talking about on Friday. And let's see, what else is there? Is there anything else on our board?
I honestly cannot remember.
That's all I think I've got going on, guys.
Like, we do what we can.
We do. I will probably be appearing on some other lives. I always do. My patrons will know when they're booked, as soon as they're booked. And then I'll be putting them out on the public webs. I'm currently looking at the classes that we want to teach in 2022. If you have a class request, please feel free to email me your request. Of course, I have the astrology class. I have the 3 tarot classes. I have the 2 different Wicca classes. I've got a candle magic class, a pendulum class. And I'm going to be showing y'all guys planning and budgeting, but that's going to be through YouTube videos.
There you go.
And you can always find out that information by visiting aesonknight.com. It's
Mhm.
HSONKNIGHT.com.
Absolutely. And of course, we want to thank our Patreon sponsors. We do appreciate them ever so much. And I'm sorry, guys, I left Illustrator up. I keep getting distracted. I keep having ideas.
There you go.
I'm dangerous. So yeah, we do want to thank our Patreon sponsors, though. I was so excited to hear everyone's been getting their packages and cards. So those of you who didn't get signed up, you missed out. But we are going to be doing that quarterly. So if
Yep.
you're interested, you get a lovely care package from us, and everyone's been really excited with those. So we do want to thank Beverly Walker, Mika G, Kathy, Mary Winfield, Brenda Bryant, Ashley Giss, Shannon C, Shannon D, the ever wonderful Lady Gwendolyn, and Charles Shaw. If you'd like to learn more about us, the show, or how you too can become one of our baristas by becoming a Patreon supporter, please visit us at PCSPnetwork.com.
Yes. And just word of warning, there are issues going on with Amazon servers, so you may be having issues accessing some things. We'll deal with them as we can. Gotta love solar flares.
Yes, we do.
Yes. All right, guys, you guys have a magical night. I'll see you later. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
This is the calm before the storm. You know what's coming, so be warned. You can't